The new Gauntlet game mode is a very unique challenge and is currently the hardest content that the game has to offer. And because I'm just that stupid and crazy, I thought to myself, what if I try to solo this with only one character? Is it even possible? Can I do it? 140 stages later, here we are. I was initially going to make a general guide on how to approach this game mode and probably will still do that, but first I want to show off an extremely funny build that allowed me to solo the entirety of the hard mode Pro Gauntlet with just Uni using Full Metal Jaguar. No heroes required. I'll be showing off the full build as well as how I approached the challenge, the emblems I prioritized, and how I dealt with certain bosses and mechanics. I believe anyone should be able to replicate this strategy with enough trial and error, and that's what I would like to help you do. As always, if you enjoy my content and want to see more guides on Xenoblade 3, as well as the other Xenoblade games and RPGs, please be sure to subscribe to the channel because it really does help me out so much. Let's get into this. So let's start off with the build that I used. I decided to go all in on evasion spam and critical hit recharge by using a Full Metal Jaguar, who's the only class who can get the evasion effect on all three of its fusion arts, by running Quick Draw as a primary art and Aerial Slash and Jackal Claw as master arts. My idea here was to always be using evasion so I could essentially be invincible. I comboed Quick Draw with Flame Lure because it was the best way to take advantage of the front positional and provide some nice additional damage, and then used Fatal Barrage and Demolition as my other two primary arts, as they have the best damage and also have animations that can allow for Quick Draw to recharge manually if needed due to being longer. Violent Streak was here as even more evasion and area of effect damage. My accessories focused heavily on critical hit and art recharge as I ran the Fraternal Badge to boost all art recharge by 50% when a non-tank is targeted, and since I'm going solo, this is always going to be the case, along with Thermo Headgear to boost flat critical hit rate by 70%, which is extremely useful for Full Metal Jaguar. My final slot is the Pro Ring Viridian, a crafted accessory that notably gives me a 37% attack boost and another 14% flat critical hit rate, making it absolutely perfect for the build I am using. This is probably going to be the most annoying accessory to get if you want to copy my build. The skills I am running aim to take advantage of all of these aspects even further. Frenzied Combo recharges arts by 30% when I land a critical hit, which applies per hit, which is awesome for the arts I am using with Full Metal Jaguar since they are all multi-hits, and this is further boosted by recharge effects. Protector's Pride goes along with Fraternal Badge to basically double all recharge speeds, and it's another 50%, making it 100% extra recharge, and I, for weak points, will boost my critical hit rate up to 82% over the course of battles, meaning I will get a lot of additional damage and recharge thanks to that constantly. The gem setup that I am using includes Empowered Combo and Analyze Weakness, as these are the two strongest damage boosts that you can possibly get here, offering a massive boost to all critical hit damage, which is essential to beat enemies in reasonable amounts of time, and Empowered Combo is another independent multiplier to all of your cancel damage, so every time you cancel arts, allowing for even stronger damage thanks to that. Since the standard master skills that this class have gives a ton of additive damage boost, these gems combo well to maximize my damage. Tailwind is a bit of a filler gem here, as I figured the extra agility might let me dodge an attack if I wasn't in evasion for some reason. You can run Steel Cleaver for another 70 attack, as it would be around the 5% damage boost, as I don't think this really helped me out a ton, and there aren't really better options since you're never going to be auto-attacking for those to be useful, since you need to be in evasion at all times, and obviously reducing aggro is not going to be useful in this situation either, since you're the only party member. I'll also say my art recharge began to become overkill a bit into the challenge thanks to a certain emblem effect, so you might even want to consider running a Warped Black Brooch over Fraternal Badge to get even more damage, but that might be a bit less consistent, so let's just run with this setup to be safe. With that, let's take a look at the Gauntlet and see how it went. In the early phases of the challenge, what I really wanted more than anything else was going to be taking the flat stat boost as much as I can, especially the ones that increased attack and dexterity. That is going to be the absolute most important things I can have to make sure I can clear this in any reasonable amount of time. I even grabbed some flat health boost as well, even though I'm running evasion setups, just in case there's a couple times I wouldn't be in evasion between like targeting different enemies and stuff like that. I wanted to make sure that I could take advantage of that. I also ended up getting discount card very early on and tried to max that as soon as I could as well to make sure everything else costs significantly less as I got further into the challenge. It's important that if you are taking on a challenge like this, that you take advantage of the emblem shop and make sure that you were able to start off with stronger starting emblems. You will have a much easier time if you do that. I highly, highly recommend doing that. It's going to make your life so much easier. I also go ahead and take gain score faster since I'm not too worried about max HP going down just a little bit since it's an additive effect, and I can easily max that out a little bit later and not have too many issues. Since it's additive, I can still easily hit over 26,000 health, which is plenty, and enemies start one-shotting you regardless later on anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. The only other max HP effect I get was very, very late on. I get cursed or damage up based on how many curses you have that also lowers your max health. but that was much, much later in the run, since that was when I absolutely needed the damage to make sure I could clear some bosses in a reasonable amount of time. As you can see here, I take the healing power up solely for the health, because there's really nothing else I can do right here, and I don't want to waste my other ticket just in case. The final thing I was really looking for here that was really important was this one emblem effect that increases my recharge based on how many party members I don't have, small unit tactics. This increases the recharge effect by 7% at first, all the way up to 25% per member not in the party. This actually gets pretty ridiculous, because it's a 150% recharge boost, and this seems independent of the other recharge boosts from Paternal Badge and Protector's Pride, meaning that I essentially ended up getting a recharge boost of 5 times the normal amount, because the 150% bonus, the 100% bonus multiplied together give you essentially 5 times your normal amount of recharge, meaning my Agnes arts, Jackal Claw and Aerial Slash, which normally have a cooldown of 5, eventually had a cooldown of 1, which is absolutely absurd. So any auto attack or any cancel would fully recharge them later on in this challenge, which was incredible. This is also why I mentioned my art recharge may have been overkill. This is absolutely very, very safe, since you could pretty much guarantee get Aerial Slash back and Jackal Claw back just from one cancel, which means you're always going to have evasion. But you could definitely go with running maybe a bit more damage as long as you cancel your other arts, because as long as you're keeping the combo up of all 3 of your master arts, you shouldn't really have too many issues, even if you have a bit less recharge. So it definitely got a little bit overkill, although, as you can see right here on this one challenge that's a little bit later on as well, the extra max HP came in clutch for me, because there was a brief moment between enemies where I was not in an evasion art, and sometimes that can be a little bit costly. You have to instantly activate your next evasion art if you can, and you won't be able to cancel into it usually, so you definitely want as much recharge as possible, just in case. My quick draw had a recharge of about 2 to 3 seconds at this point as well, which was really, really nice. It could also cancel into itself pretty easily thanks to the crit recharge effect. So the recharge is just absolutely crazy with the crit recharge and with all the additional recharge as well. Very, very easy to stay in evasion as much as you can. And as you might expect, I try to stay and max my attack as much as possible and max my dexterity as well. Now, some enemies have attacks that go through your evasion, such as Consul J and a couple other bosses later on. I'll make note of them as we get a little bit further into the video. But make sure you keep Launch Charge, or at least a Chain Attack, ready for this, because you can cancel those effects and those arts by using Launch Charge, meaning they won't be able to use those effects on you, and that is extremely important in this challenge. So, as you're watching this fight here, he's eventually going to use a move called Ruined Marionette. This move will go through your evasion and force topple you, I believe. So I saved my launch charge to make sure I can cancel this art, so he's unable to do that to me, and I'm able to continue the challenge without too many issues. This gets especially important on bosses later on once they have more health and even more damage, and everything gets even more dangerous, and you just need to be doing as much damage as possible at that point. Because they will get multiple chances to use these moves, and you want to limit that as much as possible because you only have so many uses of launch. So it's very, very important that you are approaching this in a way that allows you to deal with the enemies as much as you can. So something else that's extremely important because of that is the money bags effect. Now this will increase your damage or boost your attack mods for emblems to reach 10,000 points you currently have in your inventory. So as long as you're not spending and you have that many points, you can take big advantage of that. And you will get a massive damage increase that is very noticeable if you do that, allowing you to take on later challenges much easier. So you definitely want to max that out. And you're definitely, towards the end of the challenge, going to want to keep your point total at or nearly above 100k. Towards the end, there'll be less useful things to actually spend money on, so that doesn't really matter too much. So definitely keep money bags maxed out as much as you can. As far as other really vital things that I tried to keep track of, I tried to get shop discounts when I could, like I said. I tried to grab some curses that were going to be useless effects. I tried to get Whimsy up as much as I could because events are usually just going to be dangerous, so that one's a curse without even really a negative effect. So I found that to be extremely useful. I had basically all the flat stat boosts maxed out. I gave myself massive extra damage after using a chain attack, since you could use a chain attack on bosses to block a dangerous attack, and you need a big damage boost after that to make sure you're not going to be in danger of dying or having them do too much to you. And of course, I also had the last-ditch effort maxed out because that will give me a big damage boost as I get lower on gauge, the timer at least. So that gives you a huge damage boost as well, and everything combined with money bags there gives you huge damage that you can take massive advantage of. There's a lot of useless effects when you're only running one party member. You can't really take advantage of any of the Kevesi, Agnes Zeal, or anything like that. you can't really take too much advantage of the specific roll actions, but you can get the attacker roll action thing to get a bit of extra boost there, which I found to be very impactful. And as far as everything else about how I approached the challenge, it was really just taking advantage of the tools I had available to me, taking advantage of launch charge, chain attack abilities to make sure that any abilities that went through my evasion were stopped. Like Console X here has a sleep effect that I definitely wanted to not have to deal with. So if I ever got slept, I would just simply chain attack out of it or use a launch charge out of it. I couldn't remember the exact move name. If you see the move coming up, you can actually just get rid of it. Siren of Desire is actually what it's called. And I just straight up used a launch there to make sure I couldn't get slept in the first place, so I could just continuously attack her. And I kept an eye on Jay as well, because Jay has his ability to go through Topple, as you might remember. So it's really just keeping an eye on a bunch of these things, making sure the enemies don't do anything dangerous. See, Jay's over there using Ruin Marionette right now, so that's the other ability that goes through my Topple ability. So I went ahead and chain attacked here. Chain attack also gives a damage boost for the rest of the challenge, thanks to that one emblem effect that I also had. So I went ahead and used that here to do that and block Ruined Marionette, so he couldn't topple me out of this. I was almost in trouble there. I almost timed my chain attack a little bit too early, but fortunately it didn't end up mattering. So now I get a big damage bonus from both the gauge being low, the Napon Watch, and from my chain attack. So now I can do a bunch of damage to Jay, and you can see he kind of melts very, very quickly here as a boss. And I didn't really have too much issues with this challenge from here. I was able to block the couple dangerous attacks. So if there are a couple other really dangerous boss fights, it's going to be a lot of the later ones, as you might expect. The fight against D and J in particular was really scary on stage 130. They have a couple of really dangerous things they can do. J has a field effect. So Mobius J at least has a field effect, and so does DJ himself, has the same kind of field effect. That will summon an AoE damage around them, that as long as you're standing in it will deal damage to you, so evasion doesn't even matter there. So when that happens, I used Quick Draw spam. Quick Draw was able to be spammed into itself, as you can see there. Incarceration is the move name, to get out of that field effect. And I just kind of kept my distance by using Quick Draw, Fatal Barrage, and Demolition to keep a good range away from him so I could take advantage of that. There are going to be a couple challenges where enemies will not be in range of you when you finish off another enemy or something, so make sure you dash as soon as possible to get in range of them, so you're able to instantly get back into your evasion, so you're in less danger of dying. Now, Incarceration, you just use it again. I made sure to get out of range by using Quick Draw once again. That's the strategy there. And when they use moves that go through your evasion, you want to make sure that you are launching them, and then you shouldn't have too many issues. Now, unfortunately, D gets off the Sanguine Fire. This is another effect that both D and DJ have that gives him massive regeneration. If he's in the middle of using the move and if he hasn't activated the aura yet, you can actually launch him out of that and he won't be able to heal, which can be a very, very effective strategy. You can see my Napon gauge is getting really low, so I was starting to get a little bit worried. So I end up using my chain attack here just out of panic a little bit, even though I probably didn't have to. And it doesn't end up mattering too much because I am able to get chain attack back for the final fight anyway, during the final fight, thankfully, so it didn't end up mattering, but it was a little bit scary at the very least, but I started to panic. I didn't want my gauge to run out, and I didn't want my timer to end, so I make sure to just do this chain attack here to get another, like, 400 or 500% damage boost, however much it is, from just using a chain attack in the fight, because I really wanted to make sure my watch didn't run out, and I made sure to refill it right after this as well, as you might expect. If there's any other advice I have for some of these boss fights, is that for the fights that have enemies that can hit through your evasion or have effects that can damage you outside of that, that's when you're probably going to want to keep track of your gauge in a way where you can kind of get slightly under 50% health before the fight starts so you can maximize your damage. Make sure you keep your launch charges up for those fights in particular. Now, Queen of Kevesi and Chris here don't exactly have effects that really go through evasion if you don't do anything unfortunate here, so this 120 stage was not that hard. I'd say the most difficult stages are going to be 70, 100, 130, and 140. Those are the stages you really have to watch out for boss fight-wise. They all have effects that can go through your evasion, all have some dangerous abilities that you need to watch out for, but as long as you know those things and what to look for, you should be okay. So the rest of this video is just going to be showing off the very final fight. This is absolutely the hardest and most dangerous one, the one you need to worry about the most. So if you've gotten the boss HP down emblem, which I do recommend because these bosses are extremely tanky, Mobius D and J is going to start out with Beyond Death. That's the topple move that's going to go through your evasion, so you're pretty much going to need to instantly start off with one of your launch charge effects. And that is exactly what I did here. So, Infernal Call is the area of effect ability. Now, right now, he's not enraged, so it doesn't have the a higher area of effect than what it currently has, so maybe we'll just quick draw out of that and not have too many issues there. I don't currently have a damage boost from being under half gauge or anything like that, and I don't have my chain attack up yet to take advantage of that either, but I should get that from the next launch charge. Now, DJ uses Doom Rain here to get out of my range, which is really bad, so I make sure to target O and P here to make sure I don't lose my evasion, because I don't want to be out of evasion at any point during this. They can both easily one-shot me. Once he stands closer, I switch target back to D and J. I want to make sure I take him out first. He's got all the dangerous moves. OP has nothing that can bypass evasion, so it's really just DJ I have to worry about in this fight. And the next thing I'm going to worry about is his Sanguine Fire ability. That is going to give him the massive regen, as you saw that D had, and I do not want him to have that. So I'm going to use Launch Charge to interrupt that as soon as he uses it, and that is going to allow me to know how to deal with that. This has a 2.5 minute cooldown, so as long as I kill him in the next 2.5 minutes, he won't be able to use it again. So that's what I plan on doing here. Doom Rain is his move that kind of backs up and allows him to get out of range of us. Now, I was a little worried here, but they were both out of an attack, so I just kind of risk it and walk forward a little bit there. You probably could have dashed as well. I didn't think about it at the time because I was just really focused on trying not to die as much as I could by watching my arts and everything. So I made a little bit of a misplay there, but it ended up working out okay. So now I've got Chain Attack and Launch Charge. I actually think I do misplay the remainder of this just a little bit. I go ahead and use my launch here on the Infernal Call. That's not what I should have done. I should have just quick drawed out of it. But I go ahead and do that, and then I chain attack afterwards, because I'm like, well, I need to kill him as soon as possible before he uses anything else super dangerous here. So that's what I end up doing to get as much damage boost as I can out of this. And fortunately, I get pretty lucky in how the rest of this fight goes. I probably didn't deserve to specifically win this one, but it ended up working out because he's going to go ahead and use his topple ability Beyond Death again, and there's really nothing I can do to stop it at this point. I am under half gauge now, so I'm getting a big bonus from that. I'm getting a bonus from having used a chain attack, so my damage is much higher now. And fortunately, this topple ability cannot kill you, especially if you use Violent Streak. Violent Streak is going to keep you alive at 1 HP no matter what, just because of the talent art. And I'm able to mash as quickly as I possibly can before OP does anything, and start attacking DJ again. DJ, if you mash quick enough, will not be able to attack you again after that move, but if OP is alive, that can still be really dangerous. I got really lucky with the timing there. OP was unable to kill me, and I'm able to complete the rest of the challenge with simply 1 health. As you can see, all of my arts are able to basically cancel into each other instantly. I'm able to cancel Quick Draw into itself thanks to the crit recharge effect, thanks to just the massive amount of recharge I have. It's really, really funny when you get to spam arts to this extent. I do really enjoy it a lot, and once DJ is dead, the fight's pretty easy from there. Like I said, OP has nothing that can go through evasion, so it's just a matter of spamming arts and not massively choking somehow. Just make sure you're in evasion at all times using your arts, and you should have no issues from here. This is a really interesting challenge to do. I didn't know if it was going to be possible at first, but I think as long as you make smart use of your launch charge and chain attack, which I didn't actually do here on this final challenge like I probably should have, you should be fine, at the very least. If you play a little bit safer than I did here, and don't accidentally use launch charge on Infernal Call or waste your chain attack just trying to kill faster, you should be okay here. So I recommend going into this fight with about 70% gauge like I did. That means you'll get your damage boost but not be in danger of losing your gauge and dying at the end, because you don't want to do that. Also, make sure you're buying Napalm Watch Slowdown. I don't know if I showed that in this video, but that's also a really important skill to have in a challenge like this especially. And make sure you have above 100k points. The money bags bonus is super important. And make sure you stack as much damage boost as you can. Like I said, I started just buying useless curses that didn't really affect me that much towards the end, along with the curse attack boost, because I needed as much damage as possible for this challenge, just to make sure that I was able to do it in a reasonable amount of time and able to beat these bosses without too many issues. Like I said, this is a really fun challenge. You'll be able to know for sure that this was hard mode by the amount of emblems or gems I got at the end. All in all, this was a really fun challenge. The amount of art recharge you get was absolutely incredible. Like I said, I think if I did this challenge again, I would probably play a bit riskier with my accessories just so I could have a bit more damage, because I don't think you really needed the Fraternal Badge just because of how insane the recharge gets. You wouldn't be able to recharge Aerial Slash and Jackal Claw with just 1 attack if I did that, since I'd only have like 350% recharge instead of 500% recharge. But I really don't think it matters when you have 3 evasion arts anyway. As long as you're canceling them into each other properly, you should be fine. Although I will say the Demolition and Quick Draw combo is a little bit faster than using Fatal Barrage at all if you can manage it. So that is one benefit of the amount of recharge I had here at the very least. So I think that's going to cover it for this. I don't really have too much else to say. I hope you learned something from watching this. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, like, comment. Please Please look forward to a more general guide on this probably tomorrow or so, where I go over a bit more about what heroes you might want and how to kind of optimize that, and how to approach this game mode if you want to play something besides Evasion Full Metal Jaguar. Well, all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a wonderful and blessed day, and hopefully I'll see you back here soon.